Well, a very good afternoon to you, and you're welcome to Newsbeat here on Metro TV with me, Ania Fompo. We're live from Ikea Studio at North Ridge. You can also follow us on channel 277 DSTV, and on social media we are on Metro TV Ghana, and also on Instagram and Twitter we are Metro TV_GH. We'll take a closer look at the headlines of stories coming up. Hundreds of ECG customers in parts of the country forced to sleep or conduct business in darkness due to the inability to purchase prepaid credits. Well, Ukraine-trained Ghanaian medical doctors reject proposals by the Ministry of Education to undergo practical lessons before being absorbed into the system. And also on the foreign front, Uganda's President Museveni rules out restrictions in Ebola hotspots in the central region because the viral disease, according to him, is not airborne. You're welcome back. Let's take a closer look at the stories now in detail. Now, lead customers of Electricity Company of Ghana, Insa-Kandee Takoradi, have been unable to load their prepaid meters due to the network challenges. The situation is severely affecting their businesses.
Include seamstresses and cold store operators who are heavily dependent on power. The customers say they have combed several vending points but have been unable to purchase credit for their prepaid meters.
And that, Miss Madden won't go to prepaid, ye and the person you go to prepaid, ye be, yep, my day. On I been out there, ye, the stiff yama. Machine I'm used to electric. Since every metina he. Without light, mean to me, ye juma. Me a juma, mean to me, ye juma enough. Sister Ham saw them coffee. Go for so long when you're more dark, a yina I full weekendy. Brother, I ask some more. Aban Cheyenne. Neck be my nati. The bread.
The negative development of the power drought has rendered many of the customers helpless.
But I don't see network in here to prepaid in the hall. Young Corne, unless we have the same program now, and we're almost in network in here. It's the only much fridge, I say, on my coastal fully soon. On my chest will be early, so young and Kwana miss you prepaid in the hall. Almost the whole Ghana network engagement, like be I complaining. Prepaid, young and Kwana may complain.
Those whose businesses are heavily dependent on power say they are recording losses.
Challenges will be coming because what I say, say, I don't bend this year and light as I come back connected illegal connection. I yet illegal man, business on my bachimiana. And maybe where me illegal connection at my body. Light in the cough almost 2 days. Every cough, my cash and train. You are not telling us a network connection, a network problem. If network problem, ban is a mood, means almost updates people on system. No man can't train.
The store I'm here, Juma. A honor see our no prepared night and asa. You pay me the uncle Juma, a gum so I can be a name to me to be a shame member. I share a busiano, a being here then prepared me by almost network. I bet now if it's no pa, I bet to sabre me a network in a day. Amba, and tis a shrimp for. I can't be on Belfast, so I answer to me on any prepared in the ato. Now you bet me to be a Juma Shay and Irene and Manum near Busiano. Yes, so my no day. I'm sure I'm some come in because I know what day. I know what in here, papa.
Meanwhile, the Electricity Company of Ghana says it is currently experiencing some technical challenges in relation to metering system nationwide, which has resulted in some customers unable to top up electric power credits on prepaid meters for the past 3 days.
Indeed, frustrated customers there. Now, let's touch base with our correspondent to assess the situation. Good afternoon, Bassett, who is coming through from Kumasi. Can you tell us what the situation is in the Ashanti region, Bassett? Okay, I'm told I have Akwesiado instead. Akwesiado, thank you for your time. You also coming through. Can you tell us the situation where you are paint us the picture in your region.
So the situation keeps worsening here in the central region because this morning, when I visited some offices of the electricity company of Ghana in the region here, I still found scores of customers still in queues and then gathered in foods at the various offices, trying to purchase prepaid credit for their meters, but we're going through quite a tough time. Actually, they are unable to purchase power and has rendered many of them to sleep in darkness. Some residents are telling me that for 5 days now, they have not been able to purchase power, which has rendered them powerless. Businesses in the region here, particularly Kaswa, Agnosri, and its environs, are in fact suffering as a result of this development.
So some customers have been in darkness for 5 days, which the release only came on the 28th of September, which was yesterday. So it means that they were not notified ahead of time or ahead of the fault that ECG is recording.
Yeah, so that means that even before the ECG issued that statement yesterday, residents were still facing that challenge. That is through the weekend until we started the week on Monday, and has also prepaid for now.
What are the options people have resorted to in terms of provision of lights in their various homes?
Okay, so for those who can afford, especially on the part of businesses such as big food stores that rely on power supply for their businesses, they have resorted to the use of generator sets. Some fuel stations have also resorted to same means. And then for residential apartments, they are only able to use the gen sets during the night. And some of them are telling me that it's quite, it comes with quite a huge cost to run on generator sets throughout the night.
Do you hear maybe some of the comments? We've played some, on TV. What are the things you've heard people say in terms of energy provision or power provision for the people? What have you heard in terms of this problem? I mean, in association with this problem?
Okay. So people are frustrated and disappointed because they feel that this problem shouldn't be happening in this age. And they are more disturbed with regards to the fact that the ECG did not give any forewarning ahead of this challenge. Now, some of them also are of the view that the result or the issue may be happening as a result of the ECG supposed to maybe have their tariffs increased, and so they are expecting that once the challenge is solved, it is likely that they would have the tariffs increased.
Does it not discourage them about the, prepaid meters? People, thinking or talking about going back to postpaid?
So very discouraging, but the fact is that some customers who are on the prepaid metering system are also for some time now they have not received their bills, and they suspect even when they receive the bills or the charges brought to them are inaccurate.
Right, Akwesiado, thank you. Let's move from the central region and to the Ashanti region. Abdul Basit is there to also come through what's going on. Basit, thank you for joining us here on News Beat. What's going on as well in your area? Hello, Basit.
Hello, Annie. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Good afternoon to you. So tell us about, the power problem also in the Ashanti region. What's going on?
The power situation over here in Ashanti region is like how it is going on across the country. Because most of the prepaid vending shops has been closed down. Visit to the regional office of the Electricity Company of Ghana, I noticed that a lot of people have come there to buy prepaid, but they are unable to be served because of the system problem that the station is
even in the regional office.
Yeah, at the regional office.
Okay.
A lot of customers have been turned down. They've been told to go and come back later on because the system is not working. But sources at the electricity company of Ghana told me that the situation has not only affected the customers, it has affected the company as well because the billing system has been affected in such a way that most of even those who use postpaid are unable to pay their bills because the system is not working. And the previous bill, September bill, is yet to be prepared and issued. And because of the system, it is making it difficult for them to have that done. And the prepaid as well. And a lot of customers who use prepaid have expressed frustration because most of them are unable to buy the prepaid to embark on their business activities. Some students who also use electricity to power their equipment have also expressed disgust that because of the system, they are currently not having light and they are unable to do any activities, any academic activities in the house.
Right.
So the situation here is very tight and it's affecting almost everyone in the region here as well.
Since you visited the regional office, did any staff mention anything to you, pointing to when this problem is possibly going to end?
Yeah, the information I gathered at the office is that right now, as I speak with you, their management have gone to Accra to have a crunch meeting as to how they will be able to solve this issue as soon as possible. But one other information too I picked was that it's likely from today going up to tomorrow, something better would happen in this direction because the IT system are working expeditiously to ensure that everything is back.
Bassett, thank you. On that note of them coming to Accra for a meeting, let me tell you what the ECG said. The Electricity Company of Ghana Limited wishes to inform our cherished customers that due to a technical challenge which has affected our prepaid metering systems, purchase of electricity credit has been interrupted. Some customers in the following areas have been affected: Volta, Kumasi, Accra, Takoradi, Tema, Cape Coast, Kaswa, Winneba, Swedru, Koforidua, Nkoko, and Tafo. Affected customers should please note that our ICT system is working assiduously to correct the anomaly and restore the system to normalcy. We apologize for the inconvenience caused by the technical challenge. So that's such a serious situation with the ECG, and we're following through here Metro News, and we'll bring you some more updates. Let's see if we can have some respite from the problem that we're faced with in terms of power supply. The Ministry of Education says it has begun an interagency dialogue to absorb students returning from the war-torn Ukraine. This comes after Medical Council issued a statement indicating that it will not recognize students with medical and dental degree certificates issued by medical and dental schools from Ukraine in 2022 until normal academic activities resume. Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Nsiah-Asare, at the meeting with the Medical and Dental Council, said the students deserve an opportunity.
We will not allow people who have not seen patients to sit down, because if this war, nobody knows when it's going to end. So if you are in the first year and you continue to do online course, as for the university, they'll be happy to collect your money. We heard it, that they said the academic year is ending, so they should come and pay. Some parents were worried. That's the reason why we said that we will finish everything that we are doing so that they can enter the next academic year, which is starting in September, October, and some of them in January. Some of them have even started. So the students who have been placed will have to go quickly to their schools and go and do the academic year. And I said, no, I'll continue this and then sit down and then come and say, why don't you allow me to use my online course to register in Ghana and see who? Going to see only your relatives or going to see people in Ghana? I will not allow such person to see me when I'm sick. But I don't know, I'm a potential patient. All of us are potential patients. You don't know where we'll meet the person on the street or in a hospital. So please, that's how it is. And I think we've done this, we've opened this avenue. It's a lifetime avenue once. We open it, and when the Nigerians heard it, they were all surprised. Everybody said, hey, you've done well.
Well, meanwhile, NUG's president for the Chernovtsi Ukraine, Nana Ajiman, says the communique from the Medical and Dental Council to reject certificates acquired online by Ghana Ukraine students is unfair. The notice came in at a time the students had already begun their online classes. Now, he said he will appeal the president to help them get integrated into Ghana's schools educational system.
We are sad. Most of us are very sad. The fact that we couldn't take advantage of this integration is sad. And I must say that the issue we have with the ministry is that the communique was released a bit later, where I think all opportunities are shut down up to now. Most medical schools, most academic years has been resumed outside Ghana. I mean, the window for transfers are all shut down just because academic year and academic process are started. But they are saying that the door is shut. They are not going to reintegrate anymore. I think they are more than 100. I can say maybe 200 plus. We are still appealing as a NUGS. We are still appealing still to the committee and then to the Ministry of Education, and also channel it to the Office of the President as well, if he could also come to our aid. To me, we understand medicine shouldn't be offered online and all that, but the timing of the communique was later, where I think all opportunities are shut down up to now.
Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has outlined 7 pillars which will be hinged on Ghana's possible economic support program from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, as it holds official negotiations.
It's finalizing its post-COVID-19 economic program as a domestic blueprint to engage the IMF. This document has already benefited from input from key stakeholders, including civil society, social partners, labor, employers, and faith-based organizations, academia, industry professionals, and the leadership of Parliament. Additional stakeholder engagements will be held to solicit further inputs for the program. Our economic program contains a set of time-bound structural reforms and fiscal consolidation measures to place our debt levels and fiscal accounts on a sustainable path over the medium term. The program is hinged on 7 pillars, namely debt sustainability, fiscal consolidation, strengthening monetary and exchange rate policies, building strong financial institutions, macro-critical structural reforms, maintaining peace and security, and economic growth and transformation.
On that score, we have on Zoom Dr. Sharif Mahmoud Khalid, who is Assistant Professor in Accounting and Financial Management at the University of Sheffield. Doc, thank you for your time, and good afternoon. Welcome to Newsbeat.
Good afternoon, thanks for having me.
Right, so we've heard that this period and in the fact that the Finance Minister has hinged our negotiations with the fund on its the debt restructuring. Now, what does it mean in simple terms? And the Finance Minister has also indicated that they have not gone into any agreement in terms of restructuring with the IMF. I mean, so what's that going to be if the ministry also decides to restructure? Does that involve the IMF?
Well, that's going to be an interesting perspective. So it leaves me and a lot of people following the events confused as to what the minister actually is impugning. Because at the end of the day, what decision it's taking through the consultation and engagement with the IMF ought to be approved by the executive board of the IMF. And if the executive board of the IMF does not approve that, whatever is done is come to zilch. So, we can decide to say we're going through this route of debt structure or we're not doing that. But if the IMF executive board says that is required, we ought to do it because they are the final say in all of this when you engage with the IMF.
And so how should the markets, receive this? Because if the IMF then say we have to do it, then we have to do it.
Well, the point is that the minister has not spelled out details of the sort of route and category of debt structure and the sort of style that they are going to go into. right? Likewise, the IMF has not spelled out anything. So it's still at a very early stage. So to talk about debt structure and whether to have it or not, I don't know why is coming into the fray without proper, information as to what is to be done. So that's my concern here, because I don't know what, it looks like the minister is saying something and saying nothing, actually.
Well, so the finance minister is saying that even though things are not looking good, the economy is growing. But the speculations is not so much in support of the fact that the economy is growing. There's been the indication that the IMF support might come in at the end of 2023, and also speculations are coming that at that time, Ghana probably would have sunk further. How do you respond to these worries expressed?
Well, yeah, it's a big worry. And the point is that there are no clear indications as to what is coming in from the IMF in terms of conditionalities, in terms of, the real content that's being approved of. And as I rightly indicated from the outset, the executive board of the IMF, it's the final say. And without the executive board of the IMF, there's nothing that can be done. So it leaves us in an uncertain position, which actually could further exacerbate the situation we are in. But yeah, one could argue that yes, the economy is recovering, but in what terms, right? Are we looking at the numbers? What are the numbers looking? And in terms of the numbers, are they reflective of the reality and practicality on the ground? I think that's where we ought to begin to look at. In terms of local production, we've got a bag of maize, right, which is locally produced. At least that's not coming from Ukraine, right? Day in, day out, we have the prices going exponentially. Has it come down? No. So these are all basic indicators that we ought to look at. And this is a key consumable and staple within the economy. So I think practically, yes, we've got a language being spoken to us, which is the practicality of prices, still at an astronomical level. So there's not really a reflection of growth. As indicated, yes, some numbers may be coming up, but as to what that reflects is what we need to really ascertain as of now.
It's not reflecting in the micro.
Not at all.
So, I mean, the situation keeps getting, dire. Today, we've just spoken about power outage. We're struggling with our prepaid meters. People are not having, power because of a fault with our meters. It just keeps getting worse. At what point will the managers of the economy realize that it is that bad, that measures that are being advised that government should take would actually be heeded to? For example, cutting down government size. For example, holding on to some of the capital-intensive priority projects of government. And then also maybe some excessive spending that should be cut down further. At what point can government accept that we really need to take these decisions?
I think we've gone beyond that point, Annie, and that's where government really ought to know that they are really in a critical state. I have always maintained that the money that we took from the World Bank during the COVID period should have served as a litmus test as to how the handlers of the economy could do. What did we use it for? What kind of investments did it go into? Is that reflecting on the economy now? But if you take money and sunk it into the economy during the COVID crisis, and that has yet to reflect, then it means there's something fundamentally wrong with either the initiative or the managers of the economy. And I think that this is where Ghanaians ought to really begin to look at these things. I think that the minister's statement mentioned about 5 eminent member delegation. Who are they? What are they going to engage in? So I think that particular statement falls short of actually giving confidence into the economy and to the investors to come back. And one of the indicators that we need to, as part of our homegrown solution, is to begin to actually put local grown solutions in place to attract investors and to grow the local economy per our own initiatives whilst we await the IMF intervention, which might probably come at a later date in the coming year.
How about the timelines of the IMF's, support, if it will come in before the 2023 budget is read, as it's been indicated?
I would be surprised if that happens, unless, of course, some accelerations are gone through. Because if you follow the IMF and the World Bank traditionally in how they engage, it really takes a very long time, and before it will get to the board approval. I hope that happens, but I'm not very optimistic in terms of that happening, following the trajectory and the sort of engagement within which the IMF are used to. Because all of what, as I said, happens, we can discuss all of what, have our details, put, meat on the bone, but if the board of the IMF or the executive board of the IMF is gotten approval, is that they have the final say.
Well, Assistant Professor, University of Sheffield, Dr. Khalid Mahmood there. Thanks for speaking with us here on Metro News.
Right, thank you for having me.
Thank you as well. So you're also watching Newsbeat on Metro TV. We also have some more stories. Let's take a breather when we come back. Welcome back to Newsbeat. Now, let's get into the creative industry. Now, the new developments are coming up regarding an alleged copyright infringement leveled against the Ghana Tourism Authority by Ghanaian musician Karani Ayat. Now, the issue began after the president posted via his social media handles a visit Ghana's promotional video in a bid to promote tourism in the country. The Ghana Tourism Authority has responded to the allegations, and its CEO has also been talking about this situation. It has become a major topic for discussion on social media, with people calling for Ayat to be compensated. Let's digest, this morning. Speak to my colleague Desmond Okwekudanso with the entertainment desk, who joins me via Zoom. Desmond, thank you for your time. Good afternoon to you. Right, so take us through this journey. What happened with Ayat and his videos before the government officials are now responding to this way?
Great. So the issue started on Tuesday after the president posted a video on his social media handles promoting Ghana. So it was the Visit Ghana campaign promo that was posted there. And it was then that Karani Ayat, who is a musician here in the country, said that he wasn't contacted before some excerpts of his music video that is titled Guda, a song that he released in 2018. Excerpts of it were used in that promotional video there. And he also said that he had earlier reached out to the Ghana Tourism Authority to use the video as a way to promote the country, which are the northern part of the country, but he wasn't given any ears. And now this has been done without his notice. And so he's very angry about it. He's been talking about the fact that he had to struggle so much in the US, being a security guard and all of that, to raise some funds to fund this video, which he says cost about $65,000. So it was after that social media got buzzing with the whole situation. And then the Ghana Tourism Authority released a statement where they said that the issue had been brought to the attention. And it was in that statement that they said that they had contracted an ad agency to work on that particular video that the president posted. So it wasn't really from their point. It was then that Karani Ayat also came back saying that he is the sole owner to that particular Guda video. And so any discussion should have been with him. Then we had the CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority, on radio trying to explain what exactly happened and what he has done so far. So if we can listen to what he said.
Right.
Shameless. For people to, let's assume that it's true, that this gentleman says, I've been reaching out to do what? That we should use the video. Let's assume that it's a truth. And now the video is being used. Are you not happy that your objective has been met? Assuming. But here is a case. This is a video produced in 2019 as part of the year of return.
Yeah. Shown
it severally. We have an agreement with an agency that brought us footage belonging to them.
Yeah.
That we can use. We've used it. This is not a new video. President just retweets a video that is already out there. And then you go after the president, knowing where the source is.
So you're saying
when I saw it, I reached out to the agency and said, look, have you seen what this gentleman has tweeted? Do you guys feel it's right?
So
do
now,
the right
okay,
thing.
so now there's a certain...
hours. So this thing is taken onto a legal dimension. So I don't want to say much, but I've told you, we haven't stolen anybody's product.
Okay.
It's something that we've legitimately acquired.
Okay.
We've referred it to our lawyers for action. I wouldn't call them.
Well, so Richard Duansa is an intellectual property law lecturer at UPSA Law School and president of the Intellectual Property Network Ghana. He joins me via phone for a conversation on this development. Lawyer, thank you for your time. You're welcome to Newsbeat. What will you describe as stealing of intellectual property according to the law?
Sorry, thank you, but can you come again?
I'm asking what will be described or could be described as stealing of intellectual property according to the law.
Thank you very much. Well, I would not use the term stealing, but I would use the term infringement of somebody's intellectual property rights. Because you have a right and somebody has made use of your rights or has exercised rights that are reserved for you without your authorization or without your consent, then that would be an infringement. You may want to call it in the loose sense stealing, but I will not call it stealing because stealing is a criminal offense that also has its implications in law. Yes. So if you're talking about infringement, as I said, if somebody has a right, the law has conferred certain rights on the person, the right holder. Those rights, according to the Copyright Act, for instance, includes the right of the duplication or making the work available to the public, or distribution, commercial rentals, and other things. Certain, acts that you do in relation to your work, they are reserved for you, the right holder, or the creator, or the author. And so if another person wants to make use of it, the person is required to seek your consent or authorization. And there is also the moral rights, which relates to somebody using your work without acknowledging that you are the creator of the work.
Mm-hmm.
So the moral rights gives you the right to get acknowledgement, or to insist that you are the author or the creator, and then also the right to even prevent others from putting the work to some use that you detest. Like maybe you have done a work and then somebody is using it in a manner that you don't like. You can take steps to stop the person, right? So those are things that others could do in relation to your work, which if they fail to seek your consent or authorization, it will amount to infringement of your rights.
How about the tourism authority explaining that the contract was outsourced, and so an ad agency was in charge of this? I mean, in relation to this matter that we're dealing with. So you cannot blame the tourism authority solely because it outsourced it. How does the legal frame come in here?
All right. So from the perspective or from the point of view of the right holder, what I have seen is what the tourism authority has done. And so I'll go after the tourism authority. But if indeed the tourism authority also has a collateral agreement, or let's say an agency arrangement by which they procured the work, then of course it behoves on the tourism authority to bring in that person, assuming it goes to court. Then the tourism authority will initiate what we call a third-party proceedings,
right,
to bring in the other person. Yes. So that's how it will be.
So finally, I mean, it's still on this outsourcing. That will mean that if the musician came up first and said, I want you to use my work, and he got no response, should he have gotten a response, all those arrangements could have been adopted in the agreement, right?
Well, sure, of course. I mean, yeah. Depending on what they want the musician to do, then they'll have an arrangement that would take care of ownership of intellectual property rights, and then what rights GTA has in relation to the work that will be produced eventually. So those things will be sorted out. And it depends. You see, there could be a way, there could be an arrangement where GTA has commissioned the gentleman or the artist to produce a work.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, then GTA would own the copyright in the work,
right?
If he had contracted you, they paid for it and they funded it and all that. Then, on the face of it, I mean, without the details of a contrary agreement, GTA would own, because GTA is the commissioner, has commissioned the doing of the work or has engaged the gentleman to do that and then get paid. That would have been the situation.
Well, Richard Duansa, thank you for that education there. Let me go back to my colleague Desmond. Desmond, are you still there?
Yeah.
Right. So what got me a bit pinched was when the tourism authority mentioned that, well, you wanted us to use it and we are using it. Aren't you happy? Is that a form of, a slap in the face of the creative industry?
Definitely, that's how all the people in the creative arts industry feel about that statement made by the CEO of the GTA. You don't say that. I mean, it gives a real meaning to what everybody thinks that creatives are not, serious people in this country. And the stakeholders in the industry are really angry, and they want this to be sorted out, and not just sorted out, because now Fuse ODG has released a statement. It's excerpts of a video that he released featuring Kiddy and Kwame Eugene titled "The African Girl" were also used in the video. So there are two artists now, Kirani Ayat and also Fuse ODG. Now, the video, as said by the GTA, started showing around 2019. So this makes it 4 years of the video being used without the consent of these artists. And that is a worry that many stakeholders are talking about, saying that they want to see people being punished for this, because the president, his face is on this. And across, there was a story.
I lost Desmond. But the most importantly, the president himself is a lawyer. And so some of these legal issues, when it comes up, gets a little controversial. I'm sure government will pay attention to it. But you're still watching News Beat here on Metro TV. It's time for us to take business updates. We'll be back shortly. And in business, the central bank has cautioned all individuals who have acquired loans through mobile money platforms but have deliberately refused to register their SIM cards under the ongoing national SIM card registration exercise with the intention of avoiding repayment of the acquired loans to think otherwise. But the Mobile Money Agents Association wants central bank to relax this directive. Here's more.
It is a lifesaver in times of cash crisis. With just a click, mobile phone users can access loans up to 1,000 cedis from their network providers who have teamed up with some financial institutions to provide such services. A study by the World Bank indicates that mobile money services have a positive impact on poverty reduction. It can enhance financial inclusion by providing access to savings, credit, and insurance services. The Bank of Ghana also reports that in 2021, there were 40.9 million registered mobile money accounts and 17.5 million active accounts. The loan service offered by telecom companies attracts a fixed monthly interest. The fee is added to the loan amount to give the customer the value to pay back before or on the due date. When the due date elapses, a penalty fee is applied for defaulting. But in their quest to evade the system, some persons who have accessed the funds and are unable to pay either discard their SIM cards or cease using them. This has forced the Bank of Ghana to issue a statement cautioning all defaulters. The central bank says persons who fail to repay their loans will have a hard time to access loan facilities from other financial or credit institutions in the future.
It's worth calling for. Well, we can't afford to lose such a huge sum of money to some few people.
Marshal Mashood Umaru is Vice President of Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana.
Those that have loaned don't pay back with the energy that they use in requesting for it. It is a slight challenge, but I think that most people are trying to pay, and they are even paying.
Is however urging the central bank to hasten slowly.
If it's in order, we may want to hasten slowly in enforcing these directives, give more room and allow people to pay the loan.
Now e-levy is taking a bunch of the money that the customers need to pay back, to MTN and the others. So I think that if Bank of Ghana can afford, to write off those loans, that would be a great idea for people.
Well, now you know, if you borrow, you must endeavor to pay, as this could affect your chances of securing loans in the future, perhaps at a time when you need it the most.
Well, so joining via Zoom, via phone, is a banking consultant, Nana Champon, to tell us more on what is the question that's coming from the Bank of Ghana. Nana, thank you for your time. You're welcome to Newsbeat. Hello, Nana.
Yes, I'm here.
Right, you're welcome. So, what do you make of all these also caution that is coming in as far as our SIM registration exercise is concerned? The Bank of Ghana is also joining to give cautions.
Well, the caution is in the right order, because I don't think it should be encouraged where people take loan liabilities and then intentionally refuse to pay. However, the problem that the people have is that they've been giving these loans, but without much reference to the credit reference bureaus that Bank of Ghana is talking about. So if in future the bureau's services will be used, then quite a number of people will be kept out of the system. So I think the warning is in order that if you don't pay this and your name gets into the register of the bureau, then in future, any credit granting which makes reference to the bureau will flag you out and you won't be able to receive the loan.
So, well, it has also cautioned that you may lose your credit worthiness. However, the Communication Ministry is saying that we're shutting down chips or SIM cards that have not done their re-registration. When that happens, then what's going to happen to all these persons who they really wouldn't care about losing credit worthiness because they've lost their SIM cards anyway?
Exactly. They lost their SIM card. And if the SIM card was in their name, then there will be a way of tracing. But in some of the cases, at least from the broadcast that came out yesterday, some people didn't have the SIM card in their own name. It's in other people's name. So if you are blocking it and then the details that you have are in other people's names, then you'll be targeting the wrong people. Unless you get those people and say, go and point out who was using your SIM card. So I think the amount, unfortunately, some of it will have to be written off by the telcos, because the due diligence that they were supposed to have done before granting didn't happen. All they did was, because you are a phone user, you ask for credit and they give you. So, but it's too late now. The horse has bolted. Mm-hmm. So, but going forward in future, I think they will not easily grant the loans as they've been doing in the past, but they will make reference to a credit reference bureau to check your credit worthiness before they grant the loans.
Nana Champon, thank you for spending some time with us here on the Business News. That's a business segment of Newsbeat. Thank you. Now, let's do some more stories in the business segment. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says Ghana has set a target of transitioning from fossil fuel to strictly renewable energy by 2070. He was, however, quick to add that until the deadline is really realized, fossil fuel will continue to remain part of our daily use.
As the world gets warmer faster than any other period in human history, the race to save the planet from the ravaging effect of climate change has pushed various countries to set ambitious targets to achieve zero carbon emissions. Vice President, in his opening remarks at the Ghana International Petroleum Conference, outlined Ghana's plans to go carbon neutral by 2070.
Ghana has set a target of 2070 to fully transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. As a country, we are fully committed to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2070. But we also have to take steps to accelerate the production and utilization of our oil and gas reserves. What this means is that even though we want to contribute to reducing emissions, we are of the view that a balance must be struck and maintained in the context of our social, economic, and environmental requirements.
Dr. Bawumia added that President Akufo-Addo has introduced sweeping policies that will help reduce carbon emissions in the medium to long term.
Fossil fuels, particularly natural gas, will continue to be part of Ghana's energy mix in the short term, while strategies will be put in place to increase the share of renewable energy mix in the medium to long term. Petroleum Exploration Act 919 provides for no flaring of gas except for operational safety and under exceptional circumstances. The Gas Master Plan recommends that Ghana focuses on gas usage for power generation and non-power use. In the 2020 transport policy, government intends to reduce emission through the following: use of improved vehicle technologies, better traffic management, and increased use of mass transit systems.
The CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, noted that even though Ghana and the rest of the world have committed to reducing fossil fuel drastically by the second half of this century, the demand for fossil fuel in Ghana has increased by more than 40% within the past year.
Ghana's petroleum downstream industry, which has annual sales values of about 32.9 billion cedis, according to our 2021 estimates, contributes about 7.2% of the country's GDP. This represents a 41% increase in demand for fossil-based fuels as compared to 2020. This is an unprecedented surge in consumption of fossil fuels when the annual average over the years had been between 5 and 7%.
The 2022 Ghana International Petroleum Conference was under the theme Energy Transmission in the African Petroleum Downstream Context, Prospect, Challenges and the Way Forward.
Well, that's all we have for you in business. Let's now take a breather. When we come back, sports is next with Johnny.
Good afternoon. My name is Phil John Quarter and it's time for sports. The leadership of the Ghana Football Association has put on hold on the Ghana Premier League following an injunction by Ash Gold.
Well, it's sad. For once, I thought that we were going to have an incident-free league. And incident-free in the sense that for years and time on end, almost every football season, you have had to deal with a lot of court issues and what have you. And once this season slate began, I was just hoping that we wouldn't have those issues coming back to bite us. But unfortunately, Ashanti Gold served notice of injunction on the GFA. And as a result, the GFA has also put their league on hold. What that means is that finances for all the various clubs are going to be affected. And, you know, it's quite difficult paying player salaries, paying staff and all that. Most of the clubs also actually rely on gate proceeds for the day-to-day running of their clubs, you know. So this 2 weeks period, in as much as it's not too long, it will still have a lot of negative impact on our football. You know, so these are issues of law. Once finally the FA has been served, they also would have to respect the orders of the court by halting the Ghana Premier League until the 14th of October, where the issue will be heard in court. And beyond that, we'll get to know whether or not the league will still be on hold or in the wisdom of the court, the league will continue.
If you look at the rate that Ash Gold has filed, it borders on human rights. And if somebody is trampling upon your rights, you have every right under the law to go to court. So now, what I've read of sermons and the relief that they are seeking for, and I realize that it's mainly on fundamental human rights of the club and its directors. They believe that their rights is being trampled upon, and they need to seek for justice, and that is the only place you can go. That's why they are like the High Court, because the High Court is the original, they have the original jurisdiction in terms of dealing with fundamental human rights if somebody is worrying you with your human rights, and that's why they are there. So, I mean, we need to give them that benefit of the doubt. After the case, if indeed they go and they did not get what they want, then the FA will also have their own regulations. Then they will know how to deal with them. That is within the regulations that they have. But, I mean, for the bigger picture, you can't fight the laws of this land.
Well, away from that, former Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Efiyankwa is challenging the leadership of the Ghana Football Association and the technical headers of the Black Stars to improve ahead of the start of the World Cup, which starts on the 20th of November in Qatar.
Friendly matches, by their nature, are meant to test the team's preparedness. And therefore, from a technical point of view, the results may not really be important, even though it shows it's an indication of something. We still have more room for improvement, and we still have some time, and so they should use the rest of the time to work on that. I don't think it's only international friendlies that they can use to train. I recall in our time, we played with a lot of local teams, and that is also a way of building up the team. The thing is to get the players to sharpen their skills. So beyond this big international tournament that everybody is watching, if they would listen to my advice, they should do more, get local teams, maybe even of a lower division. And that will give them the opportunity to hone some skills and tactics and strategies that they want to deploy going forward. But who am I?
Former Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Efiyankwa urging the Black Stars to improve ahead of the start of the World Cup on the 20th of November in Qatar. That's your sports. My name is Phil John Quarty. Up next, international news.
Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni says there is no need to impose restrictions in Ebola hotspots in the central region because the viral disease is not airborne. This comes after the Association of Medical Workers in the country previously called for the affected region to be put under quarantine to stop further spread of the hemorrhagic fever. A white supremacist, Harry Nosen, has been jailed for life after plotting the genocide of black South Africans and a coup in the country on November 28, 2019. Nosen, age 64, was the leader of a far-right terrorist group and had led plans to overthrow the government using AK-47 rifles, hand grenades, and rocket launchers. Russia's Vladimir Putin will hold a signing ceremony on Friday formally annexing 4 more areas of Ukraine after conducting self-styled referendum condemned by Ukraine and the West as a sham. Russian-based officials had earlier claimed the 5-day exercise was fair and secured almost total support from those who took part, although no independent monitoring took place.
And that's all we have for you on Newsbeat. It came to live on Metro TV here at the Akria Bohema studio, North Ridge. You also follow us on social media. Facebook is Metro TV Ghana. Instagram and Twitter is Metro TV _GH. My name is Ania Fompopo. Thank you for your time.